Sometimes in life, we move so fast trying to meet expectations, trying to please others, trying to fit into the small boxes the world builds for us, that we forget the simple truth. We matter too. We forget that our hearts carry dreams of their own, that our souls whisper for attention, and that our worth is not something to be proven, only something to be remembered. Today, I want you to pause with me. Just breathe. Let the noise fall away for a moment, because this moment is not about the world and its demands. It is about you. It is about the quiet strength you've overlooked, the beauty you've dismissed, and the power within you that's been waiting patiently for recognition. My friends, it's time, past time, to focus, to value yourself, and to rise into the fullness of who you truly are. You are born with a worth that no circumstance can erase. Long before the world learned your name, long before anyone tried to shape you, judge you, or place you on their scale, you carried a dignity woven into your very being. But somewhere along the path, life's storms may have led you to forget. Hard days, harsh words, and heavy expectations can make even the strongest spirit question its own value. Yet the truth remains untouched. Your worth was never something the world gave you, so it is not something the world can take away. What you must do now is choose to see it clearly, boldly, unapologetically. There comes a time in every life when we must turn inward and reclaim the parts of ourselves we once neglected. So many people learn to give endlessly, to show up for others, to carry burdens that are not theirs, but they forget to show up for themselves. They forget that the soul has its own needs, its own longing to be seen, heard, and held. Choosing yourself does not mean abandoning others. It means refusing to abandon your own spirit. It means recognizing that you are not a machine built to run on empty, but a human being deserving of care and consideration. When you begin to focus on yourself, you start to notice the quiet whispers you've ignored. You notice the exhaustion you brushed off, the dreams you postponed, the boundaries you never dared to set. You notice the places where you settled for less, not because you were unworthy, but because you forgot how worthy you have always been. This awakening is not loud or dramatic. It is gentle. It begins with small acts of choosing yourself, protecting your peace, listening to your intuition, giving yourself permission to rest, and celebrating the small victories the world may overlook. The world often tries to convince you that your value lies in how useful you are to others, how much you accomplish, how perfectly you perform. But your true worth is far deeper than that. You are valuable because you exist. You carry a light that nobody else carries, a voice that nobody else can echo, and a purpose that only you can fulfill. When you accept this truth, something remarkable happens. You stop chasing validation from those who cannot see your brilliance. You stop shrinking to make others comfortable. You stop begging for love that was never meant to define you. Instead, you begin to walk with a quiet confidence, one that says, I know who I am, and that is enough. Focusing on yourself is not selfishness, it is self-respect. It is recognizing that you cannot build a meaningful life while treating your own heart as an afterthought. It is choosing to rise above every doubt, every fear, and every moment that tried to convince you that you were less. And when you choose to value yourself, you open the door for others to see you differently too. You teach the world how to treat you by how you treat yourself. So today, let this be your turning point. Let this be the moment you reclaim your worth, honor your journey, and walk forward with the courage to focus on you. Because you are not just deserving of love, respect, and peace. You are worthy of them now, as you are, without needing to earn them. And once you recognize that truth, there is no force on earth that can dim your light again. Self-focus is not selfishness. It is an act of honoring the life within you. Somewhere along the way, many of us were taught that putting ourselves first is wrong, that tending to our own needs is a sign of arrogance, or that prioritizing our growth means neglecting others. But the truth is gentler and far more powerful. You cannot offer your best to the world when you keep giving yourself what is left. When you ignore your own needs, you begin to walk through life half present, half alive, and half aware of the quiet ache inside you. Choosing to focus on yourself is choosing to come back home to your own spirit, to listen to what has long gone unheard. There is a sacred responsibility each of us carries inwardly, and that is the responsibility to protect our peace. Life will always bring challenges, people will always bring expectations, and the world will always ask more than what you have to give. But your peace is not something to sacrifice for approval, nor something to trade just to be accepted. When you honor your own well-being, you set a standard for how you will allow others to move in your life. You make it clear that your heart is not a place for chaos, that your mind is not a battlefield, and that your soul deserves gentleness. Protecting your peace is one of the highest forms of self-respect. Every time you choose yourself, you water the seeds of strength inside you. You begin to understand your limits, your desires, your dreams, and your purpose with greater clarity. And that clarity changes everything. You stop participating in conversations that drain you. You stop chasing after people who refuse to see your value. You stop saying yes when your spirit is begging for no. Instead, you turn your attention toward the places that feed your growth, the people who honor your presence, and the decisions that align with who you are becoming. This shift, quiet as it may be, is where self-love takes root and self-worth begins to bloom. Focusing on yourself allows you to reconnect with your inner voice, the one you silenced to avoid conflict, the one you ignored to keep the peace, the one you buried beneath the noise of obligation. That voice is the oldest, truest part of you. It knows what you need before you speak it. It knows what you fear before you admit it. It knows where you belong long before you take the steps to get there. When you choose to value yourself, that voice grows stronger, guiding you toward choices that bring meaning instead of confusion, purpose instead of pressure, and peace instead of chaos. And let this be clear, when you learn to honor yourself, you do not lose your kindness or your generosity. You refine them. You offer them from a place of fullness, not depletion. You give without losing yourself. You help without disappearing. You love without abandoning your own heart in the process. That is the gift of focusing on yourself. It teaches you how to show up for others without leaving your own soul behind. So let this moment be your reminder that you deserve to be the keeper of your own light. You deserve to treat yourself with the same gentleness you offer the world. You deserve to be valued by others, yes, but most importantly, by yourself. And when you make that choice, a deeper, steadier version of you begins to rise, one that walks with purpose, speaks with clarity, and stands firm in the truth that focusing on yourself is not selfishness. It is your birthright. When you choose yourself, you teach the world how to treat you. People learn from your actions far more than from your words. If you allow disrespect, they will believe you accept it. If you constantly give without receiving, they will come to expect your self-sacrifice as if it were your duty. But when you choose yourself, when you honor your limits, when you speak your truth, when you protect your heart with steady hands, you send a message that cannot be misunderstood. You show the world that your time has value, your emotions have depth, and your presence has meaning. You become a living reminder that a person who respects themselves cannot be shaken into silence or molded into someone else's version of worthiness. Choosing yourself is not an act of defiance, it is an act of self-recognition. It is standing in front of your own reflection and finally seeing the strength you once overlooked. It is acknowledging that you have needs that matter, dreams that deserve pursuit, and boundaries that require honoring. Every time you prioritize your well-being, you reinforce the truth that your life is not a place where anyone can walk in with muddy shoes and leave their chaos behind. It is a place of dignity, intention, and self-respect. And when you embody that truth consistently, others begin to meet you at the level you set, not the level they choose. There is power in the quiet decisions you make daily. When you walk away from conversations that belittle your spirit, you are choosing yourself. When you decline opportunities that do not align with your purpose, you are choosing yourself. When you demand honesty, kindness, and accountability from the people around you, you are choosing yourself. These choices, small as they may appear, shape the way others perceive your strength. They understand that you are a person who will not break yourself to keep peace, who will not bleach your identity to blend in, who will not betray your own soul to carry someone else's comfort. Choosing yourself also means giving yourself the grace to grow. You do not have to apologize for evolving into a version of yourself that feels more authentic, more grounded, more alive. The people who truly respect you will rise with you, not resist you. And those who fall away were simply not meant to accompany the person you are becoming. Growth requires shedding, strength requires clarity, and self-value requires the courage to disappoint those who expect you to remain small. The more you honor yourself, the more natural it becomes to expect that same honor from others. Your boundaries become clearer, your voice becomes steadier, your presence becomes stronger. You stop begging for love and start choosing environments where love flows naturally. You stop chasing validation from people who cannot see your worth, and you start gravitating towards souls who meet you with respect, tenderness, and truth. You realize that you were never asking for too much. You were simply asking the wrong people. So let this be your reminder. When you choose yourself, you do not push the world away. You reshape the world around you. You create a life where your heart is protected, your mind is nourished, and your spirit is honored. You teach others that your value is not negotiable, that your boundaries are not optional, and that your worth is not up for debate. And once you choose yourself with conviction and consistency, the world begins to rise to that standard, because you have shown it exactly how you deserve to be treated. Your time, your peace, your mind, these are sacred territories that deserve protection. Too often, we give them away as if they were limitless, as if we could always reclaim what is lost. But time, once spent, does not return. Peace, once disturbed, takes effort to restore. And the mind, once cluttered with noise, doubt, and the opinions of others, struggles to find its quiet strength again. When you begin to understand how precious these territories truly are, you stop letting just anyone enter them. You stop allowing every demand, every distraction, and every draining presence to pull from you what you cannot afford to lose. There is a gentle power in becoming intentional with your time. Not every task deserves your energy, and not every person deserves your hours. When you start honoring the value of your minutes and your moments, you begin to feel the difference between what nourishes you and what depletes you. You learn that it's not about doing more, but about choosing better. You stop apologizing for taking time to rest, to breathe, to think, to heal. You stop explaining why you cannot be everywhere for everyone. You start giving yourself permission to invest in your growth, your joy, your clarity, and that permission becomes a habit that strengthens your entire life. Your peace is a sanctuary that must be guarded with tenderness and firmness. There will always be noise, situations that pull at your patience, people who test your boundaries, and moments that challenge your calm. But peace is not found in the absence of chaos. It is found in the decisions you make within it. When you value your peace, you walk away from arguments that go nowhere. You stop engaging in battles that only bruise your spirit. You release the need to prove yourself to those who have already decided not to understand you. Instead, you choose silence over conflict, clarity over confusion, and alignment over approval. In doing so, you reclaim a stillness that the world cannot take from you. And then there is your mind, your most delicate and powerful territory. It holds your dreams, your doubts, your fears, your wisdom. It is where everything begins. When you don't protect your mind, it becomes a playground for anxiety, a canvas for other people's expectations, a storehouse for worries that never belong to you. But when you nourish it, when you feed it with truth, with hope, with perspective, your mind becomes an ally instead of an enemy. You learn to question the thoughts that belittle you. You learn to replace self-criticism with compassion. You learn to stand guard at the door of your own thinking and let in only what strengthens your spirit. Protecting these sacred territories, your time, your peace, your mind, is not an act of rebellion, but an act of responsibility. It is acknowledging that your inner world shapes your outer world. It is understanding that you cannot build a meaningful life while allowing chaos to govern your inner spaces. So treat these territories with reverence, guard them with courage, honor them with consistency. Because when you do, you create a foundation strong enough to carry the weight of your dreams, steady enough to weather life's storms, and peaceful enough to let your true self rise without fear. Every boundary you set is a declaration of your self-respect. It is a quiet but powerful way of telling the world, this is who I am, and this is how I deserve to be treated. Boundaries are not walls meant to shut people out. They are guideposts meant to protect your heart, your energy, and your dignity. Many of us were raised to believe that saying no is unkind, that disagreeing is disrespectful, or that protecting ourselves makes us difficult. But the truth is simple. Without boundaries, you become a home with no doors. Anyone can enter, anyone can leave, and anyone can disturb the peace you've worked so hard to build. Setting boundaries begins with understanding your own worth. It requires listening to the soft voice inside you that whispers when something feels wrong, when something drains you, or when someone's presence makes your spirit fold inward. Too often, we silence that voice because we don't want to disappoint others, or because we fear rejection, or because we've learned to carry more than we should. But your inner voice is your first protector. Trust it. Let it speak. It knows when you've had enough long before your mind admits it, and honoring it is one of the greatest acts of self-respect you will ever offer yourself. Boundaries also shape the quality of your relationships. When you communicate what you can and cannot allow, you invite people to meet you with honesty, clarity, and understanding. The ones who care for you will adjust because they value the space you are creating for your well-being. The ones who resist, who push, who guilt-trip, or criticize, those are the ones who were benefiting from your lack of boundaries in the first place. And when they walk away, do not grieve the loss of someone who was only attached to your silence. Instead, honor the space you've made for people who will cherish your voice. Every time you set a boundary, you teach yourself that your comfort matters. You tell your heart that it deserves protection, your mind that it deserves peace, and your soul that it deserves freedom. You stop allowing people to overstep out of habit, and you start requiring respect as a standard. Boundaries remind you that you are not responsible for carrying everyone's emotions, solving everyone's problems, or saying yes just to avoid conflict. You are responsible for your well-being, your healing, and your growth, and that responsibility is sacred. Setting boundaries is an ongoing practice, one that requires courage, patience, and a willingness to let go of who you used to be. There may be moments when you doubt yourself, moments when guilt creeps in, moments when you wonder if you're asking for too much. But remember this, you are only asking for what you have always deserved. You are only reclaiming what was yours all along. Your peace, your time, your dignity, these are not luxuries, they are necessities. And every boundary you set is a way of protecting them. So let each boundary become a promise to yourself, a promise that you will not shrink to fit someone else's comfort, a promise that you will not abandon your truth for temporary approval, a promise that you will honor your value even when others fail to see it. Because when you uphold your boundaries with unwavering love, you begin to shape a life rooted in respect. Respect for your journey, respect for your needs, and most importantly, respect for yourself. Respect. You cannot pour from an empty soul. Nourish your spirit before you seek to serve the world. Too many of us have been taught to give until our hands shake, to help until our hearts are tired, and to show up for everyone long after we've stopped showing up for ourselves. We carry the weight of others' expectations, believing that strength is measured by how much we can hold, how much we can fix, or how much we can sacrifice. But a soul that is constantly poured out and never replenished becomes weary, silent, and dim. You deserve more than a life lived on emotional fumes. You deserve a spirit that feels full, steady, and alive. There is nothing selfish about taking time to fill yourself. Rest is not laziness, it is restoration. Solitude is not withdrawal, it is alignment. Saying no is not rejection, it is redirection toward what strengthens you. When you nourish your spirit, you begin to move through life from a place of abundance rather than depletion. You think clearer, you feel deeper, you love more sincerely, you give more meaningfully. A replenished soul offers what exhaustion never can: presence, clarity, and genuine compassion. So often people feel guilty for taking time to care for themselves, as if self-care is a luxury reserved for rare moments. But caring for your spirit is not an escape, it is maintenance. It is the foundation that allows you to carry your responsibilities without losing yourself beneath them. When you pause to breathe, to reflect, to heal, you are strengthening the very parts of you that the world leans on. And when you allow yourself rest, you give others permission to do the same. Your example becomes a quiet teaching that life is not meant to be endured endlessly, but lived intentionally. Nourishing your spirit requires honesty. You must learn to recognize when your soul is tired, even when your smile still looks convincing. You must admit when you've given too much, even when your pride wants to keep going. You must acknowledge the parts of you that feel overlooked, unappreciated, or unseen. Healing begins with truth, and truth begins with courage. The courage to say, I need time, I need peace, I need to be held by my own compassion. There is strength in admitting your limits, because it is only through acknowledging them that you can begin to rebuild with intention. As you nourish your spirit, you will notice the slow return of your own light. You begin to wake up not with dread, but with a quiet steadiness. You begin to trust your decisions again. You begin to find joy in small moments, moments you once rushed past without noticing. You feel more connected to your purpose, more grounded in your identity, more aware of what you deserve. That is the beauty of a well-nourished soul. It makes life feel fuller, clearer, and more meaningful. When your spirit is full, you serve the world without losing yourself in the process. You give without emptying. You help without hurting. You support without sacrificing your own well-being. And the world benefits not from your exhaustion, but from your wholeness. Because a whole soul can lift others. A whole soul can speak truth. A whole soul can love without fear. So let this be your gentle reminder. Before you try to carry the world, take time to carry yourself. Fill your soul with rest, with peace, with reflection, and with love. Only then will you have something real, something steady, something true to offer the world. Let go of people who shrink your light. Walk with those who help your spirit rise. There comes a moment in every life when you must choose the company you keep with the same care you choose the dreams you pursue. Not everyone you meet is meant to carry a seat in your future. Some people will dim your brightness, not because they cannot see, but because your glow reminds them of the light they refuse to seek within themselves. They will question your confidence, belittle your hopes, or guilt you for growing in directions they never dared to explore. And if you are not careful, their shadows can become the lens through which you see yourself. Letting go is not an act of cruelty, it is an act of clarity. You are not obligated to hold on to people who drain your spirit or make you doubt your purpose. You are allowed to release the hands that no longer hold you with care. the voices that echo discouragement, and the hearts that only know how to pull you backward. You do not have to carry relationships that weigh more than they uplift. Life is too precious, and your journey too sacred to remain in spaces where your spirit must shrink just to fit. The people who help your spirit rise may not always be the loudest ones in the room, but they are the ones who make your heart feel steady. They celebrate your victories without envy. They speak truth to you with kindness. They hold your dreams as gently as they hold your flaws. Their presence feels like sunlight, warm, nurturing, and genuine. They remind you of who you are on the days you forget. They see your worth even when you struggle to claim it. These are the people you are meant to walk with because they do not fear your growth, they welcome it. When you surround yourself with people who uplift you, you become braver. You start believing in possibilities you once doubted. You dare to dream bigger because you are supported by hearts that want to see you rise, not falter. They water your confidence with encouragement, and they challenge you in ways that strengthen your spirit. Their honesty is never meant to harm. It is meant to heal, to guide, to help you step into a more powerful version of yourself. And it is in this kind of company that you truly begin to flourish. Releasing those who shrink your light is not always easy. Some relationships hold history, familiarity, or comfort, even when they no longer hold growth. But holding on to what harms you is a slow form of self-abandonment. You dim little by little, day by day, until you no longer recognize the shine you once carried. Letting go is not betrayal, it is self-preservation. It is choosing peace over chaos, truth over illusion, and growth over stagnation. It is deciding that your light is worth protecting. And when you do let go, you create space for better connections to enter your life. Space for people who speak to your potential, who embrace your authenticity, who walk beside you with respect and sincerity. You begin to feel yourself rising, not because life has suddenly become easy, but because you are no longer weighed down by those who thrive on your doubt. Your light grows stronger, steadier, more radiant. You start realizing that the people meant for you will never fear your glow. They will shine beside you. So let this be your reminder. You were not made to shrink. You were made to rise. You were made to glow in your own beautiful way. Choose the company that honors your light, not the company that dims it. Walk with those who help your spirit stand taller, breathe deeper, and move forward with courage. Because when you choose the right people, your journey becomes lighter, your steps become surer, and your soul finds a strength it thought it had lost. Your journey becomes clearer when you quiet the noise and listen to your own heartbeat. In a world filled with opinions, expectations, and distractions, it is easy to lose your sense of direction. Every voice around you has something to say. Push harder, move faster, do more, be more. And without realizing it, you begin to shape your life around the demands of others, forgetting that your true compass rests within you. But when you allow yourself a moment of stillness, when you step away from the rush and sit with your own soul, you begin to sense the quiet truths that have been waiting patiently beneath all the noise. There is a wisdom inside you that speaks softly. It does not shout. It does not demand attention. It whispers in moments of calm, in the pauses between thoughts, in the quiet stretches of morning, in the silence that follows a deep breath. This voice is your intuition, your inner guide, the part of you that knows what brings peace, what brings purpose, and what brings fulfillment. When life becomes loud, this voice is often drowned out. But when you choose stillness, even for a few moments, that inner wisdom rises and reminds you of who you are beyond the pressure, beyond the roles, beyond the expectations placed upon you. Listening to your own heartbeat means honoring the rhythm of your life rather than racing to match the rhythm of others. It means trusting your own timing. Not everyone's path is meant to unfold at the same pace, and your journey is not meant to mirror anyone else's. When you stop comparing your steps to the steps of those around you, clarity begins to surface. You start to understand that your journey is not behind or ahead. It is simply unfolding in the way it is meant to. There is peace in accepting your own pace. in knowing that what is yours will not pass you by. Quieting the noise also means stepping away from the fears that echo in your mind. So much of what holds you back does not come from the world outside, but from the doubts within. Thoughts that tell you you're not ready, not worthy, not strong enough. But when you slow down and listen closely, you realize those fears are echoes of old wounds, not reflections of your true capability. Beneath those fears lies a deeper truth, a truth that says you are capable, you are deserving, and you are allowed to take up space in this world. When you reconnect with that truth, your path becomes clearer, not because life grows easier, but because you begin to trust yourself more than you trust your doubts. As your clarity returns, so does your sense of direction. Decisions become less tangled, confusion loses its grip. You start to recognize what aligns with your spirit and what pulls you away from it. You begin to feel when something is right for you, even if you cannot explain why. That is the power of listening to your own heartbeat. It guides you toward a life that feels honest and grounded, even when the world around you tries to lead you elsewhere. And once you learn to quiet the noise, you discover something profound. Your path was never truly hidden. It was simply overshadowed by everything you allowed to speak louder than your own soul. When you choose stillness, your inner voice becomes stronger. When you choose reflection, your purpose becomes clearer. When you choose to trust your own heartbeat, your journey becomes your own again, authentic, steady, and illuminated by the truth that was inside you all along. So give yourself permission to pause. Let the noise fade. In the silence, listen to the steady rhythm within you, for it carries the wisdom you need to move forward. And when you follow that rhythm, your journey becomes not just clearer, but beautifully, unmistakably yours. Confidence grows where self-love is watered daily. It is not a sudden gift, nor is it born from perfection. True confidence comes quietly, patiently, like a seed that has been nurtured over time. Every small act of self-kindness, every moment when you choose your own worth over doubt, every decision to honor yourself builds a foundation for confidence to rise. It is not loud or boastful. It is steady, calm, and unwavering, rooted in the knowledge that you are enough as you are even before the world confirms it. Self-love is the soil in which confidence thrives. When you speak kindly to yourself, when you forgive your mistakes instead of dwelling on them, when you celebrate your progress no matter how small, you feed that soil. And as you feed it, your confidence begins to grow naturally, no longer dependent on approval, accolades, or comparison. It becomes internal, unshakable, and enduring. You realize that your worth does not fluctuate based on others' recognition. It remains steady, grounded in the truth of who you are. Watering self-love daily requires intention. It is in the small rituals of care, taking time to rest, setting boundaries, pursuing what brings joy, and giving yourself permission to say no when necessary. It is in resisting the urge to measure yourself against others, understanding that your path is unique and your pace is your own. The moments when you choose yourself, even in subtle ways, compound over time, reinforcing the understanding that your life, your choices, and your voice matter. Confidence is not built overnight. It grows with every deliberate act of honoring yourself. Confidence also comes from embracing your imperfections. Self-love does not demand flawlessness. It demands acceptance. It is the willingness to see your weaknesses without shame, to acknowledge your fears without judgment, and to treat your mistakes as lessons rather than failures. Each time you approach yourself with compassion instead of criticism, the roots of confidence grow deeper. You begin to trust that you can navigate life's challenges, not because you are invincible, but because you are resilient, capable, and worthy of your own care. When self-love is consistently nourished, confidence radiates outward. You move through the world differently. Your presence commands respect, not because you demand it, but because your energy signals that you honor yourself. You speak your truth without apology, pursue your goals without hesitation, and carry your heart without fear of judgment. Others notice the quiet strength, the certainty that comes from a soul that has been tended with love and care. Confidence becomes a natural reflection of self-respect, a light that guides both you and those around you. Remember, confidence is not arrogance, and self-love is not selfishness. Both are acts of courage, requiring patience, persistence, and dedication. By watering self-love daily, you give yourself permission to grow, to shine, and to stand tall in your truth. You teach yourself that you are worthy, capable, and deserving of all the good that life offers. And with that steady, nurtured confidence, there is no limit to what you can accomplish, no shadow of doubt that can dim the brilliance of a soul that knows its own value. You are worthy today as you are, without permission from anyone else. This is a truth that the world may try to challenge, a truth that your own doubts may whisper against, but it remains unshaken. Worthiness is not something you earn by achievements, popularity, or the approval of others. It is not measured by success, appearance, or comparison. It exists inherently within you, simply because you exist. From the moment you take your first breath, your life has been imbued with value, and no one has the power to diminish it unless you allow them to. Too often, people live as though they must prove themselves, as though they must work tirelessly to earn the right to be seen, loved, or respected. We postpone joy, defer dreams, and silence our voices because we think we are not enough yet. But life does not wait for perfection. Life moves forward with or without your permission. And if you spend all your days seeking external validation, you risk missing the fullness of your own existence. Your worth is not conditional. It is not dependent on timing, circumstances, or recognition. You are enough now, in this moment, as you are. Claiming your worth begins with recognition. You must acknowledge the parts of yourself that you have overlooked, the strengths that you have minimized, and the spirit that has been quietly waiting for your attention. Your worth is reflected in your courage to wake up each day and face the world, in your capacity to love even when hurt, in your resilience to continue even when life feels heavy. Every heartbeat is a testament to your existence. Every breath a reminder that you have been entrusted with a life only you can live. That alone is enough to affirm your value. When you embrace your own worth, a remarkable shift begins to occur. You stop apologizing for taking up space. You stop shrinking yourself to make others comfortable. You stop allowing people, circumstances, or societal pressures to dictate your sense of importance. Instead, you begin to move through life with a quiet certainty, a steady assurance that you deserve respect, love, and peace simply because you are alive. You begin to surround yourself with those who honor your presence, and you walk away from those who would diminish it. Recognizing your worth also allows you to set boundaries and demand respect. When you know your value, you are no longer willing to accept mistreatment or to tolerate relationships that undermine your spirit. You speak up for yourself without fear, because you understand that your voice is important. You pursue your goals without hesitation, because you know that your dreams matter. You treat yourself with kindness, compassion, and patience, because you are deserving of your own care. Every choice you make from this place of self-worth reinforces the truth that you are not waiting for permission. You are claiming the life you were always meant to live. Let this be your reminder. Your worth is inherent, unwavering, and present in every fiber of your being. You do not need to prove it to anyone. You do not need to justify it, and you do not need anyone's blessing to claim it. Today, in this very moment, you are enough. Today, your life matters. Today, your voice, your heart, and your presence are deserving of love and respect. And once you stand firmly in this truth, there is no force in the world that can make you doubt your value again.